this out. You see that score? USA versus Germany. Germany is up 82-81 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The game should have never been this close, but it is. In fact, it's been a close contest since the opening tip. Both teams going bucket for bucket, neither of them really able to pull away. Someone is going to have to step up and take control of this game if they want to win. And of all the players on this court, of all the talent, the greatest shooter of all time, a former MVP, the future of USA basketball, it is none other than all-reliable 39-year-old LeBron James who completely takes over this game.
Finds James, knifing through with the left hand. Backside, nice run here and save by James. LeBron trying to take over. Trying to answer the tie-in. James another reason.
He's a bully.
To do so this coming weekend. Oops! No! James another board and a foul, which will send him to the line. Look at this bench reacts. LeBron James open for three. LeBron James bodying.
Yo, he's a bully. He's really a bully.
Bench reacts. LeBron James open for three. LeBron James bodying inside his net.
There's 3 niggas under there. You don't care. He's a man. He's a man.
With the game on the line and 4 minutes
I'm
left
a
in
man.
the fourth, LeBron turned back the clock
Child,
and
Nick.
completely put Team USA on his back,
Child, Nick.
scoring their final 11 points and single-handedly outscoring Germany. The Young Bucks are loving it. These performances should have came to an end years ago. And yet here we are, 22 years in, and the old geezer still got it. But wait a minute. This is the best basketball team on the planet. Some have even called this roster the best team of all time. But if that's the case, then why out of all of these players does it take a 39-year-old LeBron going ballistic in the final minutes to win a game by single digits? Their previous game against South Sudan was a similar story, with a go-ahead.
I think y'all gotta chill with the 30. Why does it take a 39? Because he's LeBron. Like, I get what y'all saying. Like, at some point, like in life, when you get older, right, you pass the torch, you know? So when you're younger, you know, whatever, when you're a little kid, you don't have as much responsibilities. As you get older, you take over the responsibilities of your elders or your parents. But at some point, you got to understand that he's the chosen one. Like, you can't always pass the torch. Like, he's him. Like, he's the one. You can't fill those shoes. So
Head basket by
it is what
LeBron
it
being
is.
the only thing separating the U.S.
Hey!
from a loss. A couple months back, when this team was first announced, they were immediately hailed as one of, if not the greatest team ever assembled. However, through 5 exhibition games, 3 of which were won by 6 points or less, the title of greatest team ever seems to have been given out a bit prematurely. Is this team truly the best team we've ever seen? On paper, they have all the credentials to fit the bill, but on the court, they aren't nearly as dominant as some teams from the past.
Being a winner is a curse.
I think we should watch this ad just to
It doesn't
see.
matter how much you've won before. You're not a winner
Until you win again.
until you win again
Wow. That's real
and
shit.
again and again.
Wow.
Nothing is enough. No one understands. And you never want it to stop.
It actually happened. A 12-man roster that some are saying is the greatest basketball team of all time. LeBron, Durant, Curry, Embiid, Tatum, AD, Booker, Kawhi, who has since been replaced by Derek White, Edwards, Halliburton, Holiday, and Bam. One of the most loaded teams in the history of basketball. And yet, 5 exhibition games into this year's Summer Olympics, and this team has just barely escaped with a win on multiple occasions. Nowhere.
You know what I think about this team, though? When you look at the names, this team has as many names as anybody ever. But this team doesn't. How many people are in their prime on this team? LeBron's not in his prime. Curry's not in his prime. Durant's not in his prime. Edwards is not in his prime. Tyrese Halliburton is good. I don't think he's as best as, you know, this might be his best season, but like, you don't have a lot of niggas in their prime. These niggas right here, Magic, Magic was closer to his prime. Jordan was in his prime. Barkley was in his prime. Malone was in his prime. Who else? David Robinson, Ewing, Stockton. All of them niggas was in their prime. So the names may not be as big, but they had a lot of people in their prime. Even 08, you had a prime Kobe. 08's that's about as prime as it gets when it comes to Kobe. 08, anywhere from like 06 to 08. You got a prime Chris Paul. 08, you got a prime-ish Dwight, pretty prime Dwight. You have 08 LeBron. I would say that's closer to prime LeBron than this LeBron. Who else that team had? You had prime Deron Williams. You had prime Melo. You had a young KD wasn't in his prime yet. You had prime D Wade. You had a lot of niggas in a prime. Most niggas on this team, the important niggas on this team are not in their prime. You have Jason Tatum, who doesn't play. You have Bam Adebayo, who, AD's not in his prime. So I think that's the difference. You talk about names. Yeah, the names are great, but nobody's really in a prime.
Near some of the colossal blowouts we have seen Team USA put down in the past. Which begs the question, is this actually the greatest team of all time? Greater than the 1992 Dream Team? A group of players that won games by a record-shattering margin and took basketball to a global scale. Are they greater than the Redeem Team? Or even the U.S. Olympic team and 2012?
Who else was on that team?
Are they greater than the Redeem Team? Or
Kobe, Wade, Kidd. Was Kidd in his prime? Nah, Kidd was past his prime. Williams in his prime. Carlos Boozer was in his prime. Chris Bosh, I think 08 was around his prime. So, like, the names aren't as big, but everybody's in a prime.
Or even the U.S. Olympic team in 2012.
2012, prime Westbrook, prime KD.
Led by Kobe.
Prime Iggy.
A prime
Kobe was not in his prime, though.
LeBron and Durant.
LeBron was in his prime. K-Love was in his prime. Chris Paul was still pretty much in his prime. Melo was a little after his prime.
Well, it all depends on how you want to define greatness. Are we talking about a team with the best collection of talent? Or is greatness defined by how good they are as a collective unit? And since the 2024 U.S. Men's Olympic team has yet to play a single non-exhibition game together, I assume we are referring to option number 1. In terms of major career accomplishments, such as MVPs, championships, All-NBA teams, the key milestones that we use to measure how great individual players are, here is how the 2024 U.S. Men's Olympic roster stacks up against some of the greatest teams of the past. Now, it's important to note that I only took into consideration the accolades these players earned leading up to the time of the Olympics. So, for example, although Michael Jordan won 6 titles and 5 MVPs by the end of his career, I only included the 2 titles and 3 MVPs he won heading into the 92 Olympics. This is only fair since players on the 2024 roster have yet to finish their careers and still have time to pile up more accolades. So this is a snapshot of how accomplished these teams were at the time of their formation. And when ranked against the most accomplished teams, you could make an argument that this 2024 team is the greatest of all time, just slightly edging out the US men's team in 1992 and in 96. Oddly enough, the 96 US men's Olympic team was more accomplished at the time of their formation than the 92 Dream Team was. But overall, this year's team is arguably the greatest team in terms of their basketball resumes. But that might be due to the fact that this year's US Olympic team is old. By the 92 Olympics, Larry Bird had already played his last NBA season. His back was completely toast, and he was the oldest player on the team by a considerable margin. He was 35, which means right now, Stephen Curry is older than Bird was during the 92 Olympics. In fact, Devin Booker has already been in the league longer than most of the players on that 1992 Dream Team. So although this 2024 team has the advantage of experience and longevity, the team in 92 got many of their players during the peak of their careers. So what if instead of accolades and accomplishments, we looked at how good these players were individually at the time of the team's formation? Here is a chart of the 2024 US Men's Olympic ball roster and their production and efficiency from this past season, with box plus minus on the y-axis and win shares per 48 on the x-axis. Now, a few things jump out here. Tyrese Halliburton has been considered one of the weaker links on this roster, but he was actually one of the better players on this team throughout the regular season. LeBron James is really old and still really good, and Joel Embiid's spot is a quick reminder that if it weren't for a season-ending injury this past year, the man might be a back-to-back MVP right now. And now for some context, here is the 2012 US Olympic team and their advanced numbers in the season leading up to the Olympics.
Damn, Chris Paul? Nah, niggas forgot about Chris Paul, bruh. Niggas forgot about CP. They did.
The best player on this team, followed by Chris Paul and Kevin Durant. They also had a veteran Kobe Bryant and Olympic Melo. And statistically, you can make an argument that the individual players on this team were better than the players on the 2024 team. The 2008 Redeem team was relatively young and inexperienced in the international realm.
Damn, Chris Paul? What in the fuck? Yo, what Chris Paul got going on, bruh? Chris Paul is wilding right now.
James leading the way coming off of his 5th season in the league, a young Chris Paul entering his prime, and MVP Kobe Bryant. But overall, this team probably wasn't as good as the US roster this year. 1996, however, is one of the more underrated teams ever assembled, with a ton of 90s greats like Pippen, Gary Payton, Reggie Miller, and of course, the greatest front court lineup the world has ever seen. Featuring David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone. This team was experienced. They were all still in their prime, and as a whole, they were better than this year's team. Which leads us to the 1992 Dream Team, who are still on a completely different level from any other team before and since their inception. Because here's Michael Jordan, here's David Robinson, Magic Johnson, Drexler, Stockton, Barkley, and the rest of the team. And now we have a better picture of just how good this 92 Dream Team was. The 1992 US Men's Olympic team was so good that Anthony Edwards in 2024 was statistically worse than every single player on the 92 Dream Team outside of Christian Laettner, who hadn't even played a single minute in the NBA up to that point. Now, you may be thinking that these stats of the players in 1992 might just be inflated or possibly a miscalculation. How is there so many all-time great players at their peak in the NBA in 92? And where are all of these players today? Well, they're playing for other countries. Because here's Nikola Jokic, here's Luka Doncic, here's Giannis, and here's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Ooh.
So in terms of individual...
Damn, Jokic out the damn screen. Nah, Jokic being out the screen is type crazy, bruh.
Dominance. The 92 Dream Team would be like having this 2024 roster without some of their relatively weaker links and the addition of Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and SGA. That is how good the Dream Team was. And I don't know if we will ever see one single team as good as this 1992 US Men's Olympic team was ever again. In 1992, basketball was a sport dominated almost exclusively by American players. The NBA, and by default the entire world, revolved around players from the US. There was, of course, exceptions to this. Among the elite foreign players of the early 90s were Nigerian-born Hakeem Olajuwon, who ended up playing for Team USA, Patrick Ewing from Jamaica, who also ended up playing for Team USA.
Hold on. Flag on the play, bro. Flag on the play, bro. They got niggas from other countries playing on the team. I mean, Joel's not from here, but damn, you took the 2 best big men basically of that era or of that year and put them on that team. Obviously, they're gonna beat everybody by 100.
Detlef Schrempf from Germany and Croatian legend Dražan Petrovic. But that was about it. The NBA had yet to really pursue basketball on a global scale. The 2 international teams that were eventually added to the league wouldn't make their debut until 1995. 95% of all NBA prospects were American-born or attending US universities. But as Steve Kerr said after Team USA's loss in last year's FIBA World Cup, this isn't 1992 anymore. Over the last 32 years, the number of foreign-born NBA players has skyrocketed. From 21 foreign-born players, just 5% of all active players in the league in 1992, to 125 foreign-born players throughout the league in 2024, representing nearly a quarter of all active players. Today, when players join international competition, more often than not, they're just playing their NBA teammates in these tournaments. It's a bunch of NBA guys versus a bunch of NBA guys. The 92 Dream Team was and still is the greatest team ever assembled because they were a collection of the best basketball players, not just in the US, but in the entire world at the time. Outside of Hakeem, who was arguably not as good as Ewing or Robinson in 1992, and Isaiah Thomas, who was unjustly snubbed from this team, they couldn't have gotten any better.
Oh wait, so Hakeem didn't play. Okay. He didn't play for them. Yeah, I'm trying to think how you had the two best point guards in the league, Magic and Stockton. Oh, you didn't have Isaiah. I mean, you can make an argument for Isaiah, and rightfully so, and I wouldn't argue. You have the two best shooting guards in the league with Drexler and Jordan. I don't think anybody I mean, Reggie Miller may be better than Clyde Drexler. I don't think so. You're not getting that off on me. And then who's the best small forwards in the league? I mean, Scottie Pippen. I mean, Larry Bird in terms of names. I mean, you might be able to throw a Grant Hill. He didn't come till later. Who else you had? Dominique Wilkins was already a lot older. Who else? Small forwards in the early 90s. Yeah. So I'm just going to say Scottie was the best. And you had Mullen, who probably was up there as well. Power forwards, you had Barkley and Malone, who were undoubtedly the best power forwards in the league. And then you had Patrick Ewing and David Robinson. Where's he at? So, yeah, I mean, you had literally the best players at every position.
Now, in the case of this 2024 team, they're great, but they aren't nearly the best possible iteration of what the great
players who could have made the roster. Jokic, Luka. I don't think Luka makes this team better, though. This team in particular I don't think he makes them better. Jokic definitely makes this team better. Giannis, without a doubt, makes the team better. Shea makes the team better. Brunson, maybe. I think he would do better than Tyrese. Wemby. Does Wemby make this team better? The center position is pretty good. I mean, I guess. You feel me? AD has been great. Embiid has been really good. Bam has been solid. Jimmy Butler. Nah, they don't need Jimmy. Devin Booker has played his role very well, so has Jrue Holiday.
Greatest collection of talent in the entire world would look like today. So not only was the Dream Team the greatest collection of talent in the history of basketball, nearly all of the players on the Dream Team were at the peak of their powers, but they were also eviscerating teams. More legendary than this 92 roster and the dominance of their individual players, the Dream Team was crushing their opponents. In Game 1 of group play, the Dream Team scored 116 points while holding their opponent to just 48. In the semifinals, the Dream Team beat a really good Lithuania team by 51 points. If you want to know just how outmatched these countries were, look no further than the guy who just threw in the towel and just started snapping pictures of the Dream Team while the game was still going on. And in the gold medal game against a loaded Croatia team featuring 6 NBA players, the Dream Team won by 33 points. Look at this play right here. Gold medal game, the pride of an entire country on the line. Barkley hits Leitner for a 3 and calls it good before he even puts up the shot. These games were never close. In fact, this team wasn't even fair. During the 92 Olympics, the Dream Team had an average margin of victory of nearly 44 points, the largest margin of victory of any men's team at any professional level, and twice the margin Team USA put up in the 2016 and 2020 Olympics. Their average margin of victory this summer has been just 10 points. Granted, they are still making tweaks to their lineups and experimenting with different game plans, so this number will likely change over the course of the Olympics.
I think a lot of it has to do with style of play as well, because you have Magic, Jordan, Pippen, and Malone, who all run. Stockton, they all run. I don't know how they're gonna fare against this 08 team, but I think a lot of it just has to do with style of play. I think the 08 team, you could argue, was just as dominant. They just didn't have a style of play that was so fast paced that they're beating teams by as much. Like, because like I could score on 62% of my 62% of my possessions. Both of them could score that percentage on their amount of possessions, but because the Dream Team plays so fast, it's like it feels like they really busting their ass maybe a little bit more than what they actually are. Versus like we're taking 16 seconds per shot clock while they're taking 12. So I don't know if that means that they're better because the spread of how much they're winning by is greater. But, you know, if somebody were to say that, like, they're winning by more points, so that means they're greater, it's hard to argue against that. Just something I felt like should be kept in mind.
But through 5 exhibition games, they aren't winning in nearly the same blowout fashion we saw in the past. And this level of dominance that we saw from the Dream Team, the USA men's team in '96, 2008, and even 2012, will more than likely never happen again. In 1992, excluding the US team, the 11 teams that played in the Olympic basketball tournament featured 18 players that were active in the NBA or were in the NBA at one point in their career. In this year's Summer Olympics, the 11 countries outside of the US that are playing in the tournament feature 68 active or former NBA players. Now, this is an oversimplified way of looking at the caliber of these
France
teams.
looks tough. Wemby, Gobert, Fournier, Batum, Nikila. Their defense looks solid, though. Who else? Really good teams. Canada obviously is the best team outside of the U.S. And then Greece has Giannis, so Serbia has Jokic, but their defense sucks. Just ass.
Because as we've seen before, having the most NBA talent on your roster does not guarantee success, but it does show just how much the world has caught up with the US in basketball. The once massive chasm that separated USA basketball from the rest of the world has been shrinking for over the last decade or so, and is now at a point where many countries can truly contend for a gold medal. As it stands, this 2024 US men's roster may be the greatest team ever assembled in terms of their accomplishments and their legacies and resumes. But when it comes to the sheer dominance they have on the court together and how good each individual player was at the time of the team's formation, the Dream Team is still the best team in the history of basketball. And with the leaps and bounds foreign players continue to make, I don't think we will ever see one single team reach this level of dominance ever again. A team that still remains the gold standard.